it's Molly and welcome back to Teen Book Talk Tuesday. As you might already know, this month we are going to focus on mythology. So we will talk about a few young adult novels that have some mythology-based themes, some legends in there, some ancient fairy tales. Those types of themes are going to be very prevalent in the books that I'm going to talk about. And then, of course, I will also read either a short story or a poem that I'll find that has some mythology, some myths and legends interwoven into those stories and poems. So I just grabbed 3 novels that we have here at the library. One of them I did read. A couple of them I haven't read, which I'm also interested in. So I might read them someday down the line. Right now I have all kinds of books at home that I need to read. There just doesn't seem to be enough hours in the day to read all the books I want to read. So I'm slowly getting through those. So these will be available to check out because I probably won't read them just yet. So the first one that I want to talk about that I read about a year ago, I think I read it last year, it's called Dragon's Keep. So we have some dragons. This also has a bit of some Arthurian legends because you get into the family of Merlin, a little bit of the backstory of why Merlin's family was kind of shunned in this kingdom, in this setting. So there are some dragon themes, which of course is a myth itself. Lots of legends that have to do with dragons and magic in this story. So this story is about a girl named Rosalind. She is a princess, and she has a little bit of a secret. She has dragon blood within her. She actually has a dragon claw for one of her fingers, which her mother, the queen, always wants her to keep covered up, because if people find out about her, then that could mean bad things for her and for her family. So I'm going to go ahead and read you the synopsis for all of these. I'm going to read you the synopsis for this one to get you a little bit more of some storyline of this book. So, far away on Wild Island lives a princess born with a dragon's claw. No one, save her mother, the queen, knows her terrible secret, and the queen has forced her to wear gloves at all times until a cure can be found. Rosalind is a princess, so she must be perfect. How else can she fulfill Merlin's 600-year-old prophecy that will restore her banished royal family to its rightful throne? But Rosalind's flaw cannot be separated from her fate. Soon the bloodthirsty dragon that plagues Wild Island carries her off, and on Dragon's Keep, Rosalind comes to understand the truth behind the prophecy that has haunted her since birth. So, this story, I really loved it. It had some really cool mythology themes in there with the dragons, a little bit of Arthurian legends in there. So I really like this. It's, very medieval. It's just really great storytelling also. When you read it, you feel like you're in that medieval Arthurian time period, which I really, really loved. So it, it also has a lot of traditional fairy tales and, and legends in there as well, if you like those. So I highly recommend that one. This one is called Everneath by Brody Ashton, and this is a story that has some ancient Greek mythology themes within this one. And I'll go ahead and read you the synopsis. So, a captivating story of love, loss, and immortality. Last spring, Nikki Beckett vanished, sucked into an underworld known as the Everneath, where immortals feed on the emotions of despairing humans. Now she's returned to her old life, her family, her boyfriend, before she's banished back to the underworld, this time forever. She has 6 months before the Everneath comes to claim her, 6 months for goodbyes she can't find the words for, 6 months to find redemption if it exists. Nikki longs to spend these months reconnecting with her boyfriend Jack, the person most devastated by her disappearance, and the one person she loves more than anything. But there's a problem. Cole, the smoldering immortal who enticed her to the Everneath, has followed Nikki to the mortal world, and he'll do whatever it takes to bring her back, this time as his queen. So if you know a little bit about the underworld in Greek mythology, that's where Hades resides. That is, where the dead pass on to. So that has a lot of Greek mythology themes in there. So this is a love story, obviously. We have some romance, we have some magic, we have mythology. So this sounds like a really interesting read if you're into a little bit more romance in your stories. Dragon's Keep really doesn't have really any romance in that one. So if you really aren't into that kind of thing, give that one a try. But this one, sounds really good. So I recommend that you give that a try. Okay, this last one is called The Goddess Test. I actually looked this one up on Goodreads one time. I thought this one looked really interesting, and it's by Amy Carter. So every girl who has taken the test has died. Now it's Kate's turn. It's always been just Kate and her mom, and her mother is dying. Her last wish? To move back to her childhood home. So Kate's going to start at a new school with no friends, no other family, and the fear her mother won't live past the fall. Then she meets Henry, dark, torture, and mesmerizing. He claims to be Hades, god of the underworld, and if she accepts his bargain, he'll keep her mother alive while Kate tries to pass 7 tests. Kate is sure he's crazy, until she sees him bring a girl back from the dead. Now saving her mother seems crazily possible. If she succeeds, she'll become Henry's future bride and a goddess. If she fails... So this one, again, a little bit of the underworld in here, which is a Greek myth. You have Hades, which is who Henry supposedly is, Hades. And I think Kate is probably a little bit of a spin-off with Persephone. She's the goddess who was actually had to spend a certain amount of times throughout the years in the underworld, the traditional Greek mythology story. So this definitely is going to follow a lot of Greek mythology themes. You have magic, you have the underworld, and then also some issues that we deal with as regular people. There's loss. She deals with the loss, fearing the loss of her mother, trying to do anything she can to keep her mother alive. So there's probably some family values types of themes within this story as well. Okay, so those are a few I want to talk about today, and of course I'll have some more next week. We have tons of books here at the library that have mythology themes, gods and goddesses, dragons, fairy tales, legends, Arthurian legends, and things like that. So I'll keep finding some more to talk to you guys about throughout this month. So instead of a short story, I found another poem, and this one is called Medusa by Louise Bogan. So if you don't know who Medusa is from the Odyssey, she is the evil goddess monster woman who has serpents for hair, and if you look into her eyes, you turn to stone. If you've ever seen the Percy Jackson movies, you could find her in those movies, in those books, because that is a book series as well. So this is called Medusa, so I think it's going to be about Medusa. So, and we'll break this poem down a little bit to we'll discuss it a little bit. So Medusa. I had come to the house in a cave of trees, facing a sheer sky. Everything moved, a bell hung ready to strike, sun and reflection wheeled by. When the bare eyes were before me and the hissing hair, held up at a window seen through a door. The stiff, bald eyes, the serpents on the forehead, formed in the air. This is a dead scene forever now. Nothing will ever stir. The end will never brighten it more than this, nor the rain blur. The water will always fall and will not fall, and the tipped bell make no sound. The grass will always be growing for hay deep on the ground. And I shall stand here like a shadow under the great balanced day, my eyes on the yellow dust that was lifting in the wind and does not drift away. So this poem is about someone who has seen Medusa. They have looked into her dead eyes and have turned to stone. So let's break this down a little bit. So the first passage, I had come to the house in a cave of trees, facing a sheer sky. So he is basically in the woods, a cave of trees. So just imagine, you know, a cabin or a house in the woods surrounded by trees, facing a sheer sky. So the sky is sheer. There's, you know, a little bit of mist in the sky. It's not quite clear, but it's probably a little bit dreary. Everything moved. A bell hung ready to strike. Sun and reflection wheeled by. So it's windy. You know, we have some life right now starting out in the story. And then when the bare eyes were before me and the hissing hair. So of course, you know, without telling us specifically, it's more showing us that it's Medusa that the speaker is referring to. Held up at a window, seeing through a door, the stiff bald eyes, the serpents on the forehead formed in the air. I think that is a really cool poetic description of Medusa without just telling you what she looks like. She had snakes on her head. She had scary, dull eyes. You know, it's really showing you exactly what she looks like with the serpents, you know, formed in the air. They're kind of flowing around. It's alive. It's lifelike. It's creepy. This is a dead scene forever now. Nothing will ever stir. The end will never brighten it more than this, nor the rain blur. So now, you know, the scene is just, it's still. Medusa is there. Everything is gone still and dead. The wind is not blowing anymore. The water will always fall and will not fall, and the tipped bell make no sound. The grass will always be growing for hay deep on the ground. So the water will always fall and will not fall. So sometimes the water is flowing, it's alive, sometimes it's not. It's just, it's still. There is no water rushing or falling. The tipped bell make no sound. So because the scene is just dead now, everything's just kind of not as lifelike as it was in the beginning. It's silent. That bell will not ring at this point. The grass will always be growing for hay. So another, some more imagery there to kind of give you that deadness imagery of this scene. Growing for hay. Hay is essentially dead grass. So because it's not saying, you know, the grass will be growing like regular grass, it's growing for hay. It's just going to grow and die. Everything's just, it's moving then dying as soon as Medusa appears. And I shall stand here like a shadow under the great balanced day, my eyes on the yellow dust that was lifting in the wind and does not drift away. So this is a great, some great imagery for this speaker who has turned to stone. They looked into Medusa's eyes and they've turned into this yellow stone that's giving off dust that's blowing in the wind, and it doesn't go anywhere. It's just, he's staying there. He's staying put. He's a stone, standing there like a shadow. You know, he's like as if he's part of the landscape. So I'm picturing, you know, maybe some more people, statues, more stones around this house where Medusa probably lives here. I don't know. It doesn't say specifically that she lives here. But I can just imagine a lot of creepy stones around where people have been frozen by her what was it, bare eyes and her serpent hair that's flowing around in the wind. So that was a really cool poem. I'm going to look up some more poems, hopefully maybe some more short stories that would be, you know, a little bit more our speed. Because a lot of Greek mythology, you know, in the Odyssey and the Iliad, they're a little bit harder to understand. Of course, there are some abridged versions and there's some versions that are easier to understand. But what I'm really wanting to do is find some more poems, some more, you know, things that other people have written that are based on mythology, since the novels we're talking about have mythology themes. So I hope that you enjoyed talking about those books and listening to the poem and, you know, breaking it down, figuring out exactly what everything means, why it's based on mythology. And if you have any recommendations or requests, short stories or poems or books that you'd like me to talk about, feel free to shoot us a message on Facebook or comment on the event post for the video on Facebook. So then tune in next Tuesday. I'll talk about some more books and we'll have another short story or a poem. So stay tuned.